Welcome again to our podcast, which basically is dealing with the looking at the art and the science of discovery. And most of our programs deal with the discovery of something medically that I'm working on, but there are a lot of things that a person could discover about themselves. And so this is a little bit of a departure from that, but it's something that I want to share with everybody because it's something I've discovered about myself that maybe you need to take a look at. And that is the idea of what was called due diligence. I have missed it so many times on due diligence, and let me just tell you a couple that you can relate to. One actually had to do with a church that I went to and then a pastor that I met. And this pastor had stories of the most fabulous work that he was doing, that it was just almost unbelievable. And of course, the old adage of if it's unbelievable, it probably is. Not believable. This fellow was so good at convincing me of all the wonderful things he was doing that I financially supported him, not only when he was working as a freelance pastor, but when he started a church, and I was willing to help him and give it advice. And then, but I wasn't always at the church because I lived in a different location. But when I went there, I could see things that seemed to be amiss, and it didn't make sense to me. And so what I first noticed was that he was very condescending with the staff and often made fun of other people in the church. Didn't make sense to me. And the other one that bothered me was I finally started to see that, this is an understatement, that he was embellishing things that were going on. And then as time went on, I realized that he was actually a pathological liar. And why was I buying in? Because I generally have a way of approaching things that I'm willing to go with this until proved otherwise. And I believe what I say people can believe. And I tend to think of what other people tell me I'm willing to believe until proven otherwise. Well, it eventually got proved otherwise, and the whole church fell apart. And then I was amazed that when I did my due diligence, I found out that this particular marriage was his fourth marriage. It was now he was into the fourth church that had now failed. He had been successful at some other churches for periods of time, but when it called those other churches, they would not give any statement concerning his time at those churches. I could have saved myself a lot of time if I had used due diligence and looked into this before I got fully invested financially and personally. It didn't make sense, but it was just another lesson, more due diligence. Now, I also then had one that was really crazy in business, cost me a lot of money, cost me a lot of time. And so I was very eager with the ideas that I had. I just needed to commercialize it. And so I was seeking someone who could make wraps for me that would have protocotuic acid on them. It could wipe them on your skin, wipe them on a baby's butt, and it would take care of a rash on the baby's butt, and it would take care of any contaminants or bacteria that were on the surface. So I did due diligence going after different companies, met with several different ones. Some didn't make sense. I finally found one that I could meet with this person and who was running this company, and they were in the nutraceutical business. And I met with them. I sat in front of them, and behind them, I could see that they had some kind of religious figure on the wall, and they also had a certificate that they were a certified and licensed pharmacist, and they graduated from a pharmacy school and have certificates of that. So that made a lot of sense to me, and they were personally engaging, and so we moved forward, and I made a time and money investment to join them in their practice where they could market what I was working on. Well, it didn't take long to find out that I wasn't getting any value for my money. Some of the things that were going on didn't make any sense to me. And so I finally did some due diligence. And what I recommend to anybody is the due diligence is very easy. All you have to do is use Google, put the person's name in. You can learn everything about them. What did I learn? That I learned two things. One is that presently the person was under indictment from the federal government by the Trade Commission for having falsified that an agent that they had would cure COVID. And the other one was that I learned that they had lost their license. They were not a certificate holding person for a pharmacy license, but because of fraud, they lost that license. I could have saved myself a ton of time and money if I'd done due diligence. And so where have I seen that? I'm not the only person that's failed on that. The other ones is I have friends who are doctors because now most doctors are employees. They have signed contracts that they can't have ever read, and they realize that they're an employee at will, meaning they can be fired without cause or at any time. And so let me just say to my doctor audience or to anybody else, due diligence. I've missed it many times. I gave you 2 examples. I hope I don't keep missing it in the future. Thank you. Hoping you have a good day, and you'll be a lot wiser than I was concerning due diligence.